I'm pretty nervous of drugs. I'm quite an anxious person. I'm just not an easygoing, laid back person that will just take mushrooms sometime and, with a mate and see what happens. I chose the date because it was my 69th birthday. I'm going to give it a try. Very quick that I was suddenly in a very different place. It was murky. It was churning. And I said to myself, oh, okay, so this is what they mean by a bad trip. I did ask Jacobian to hold my hand because it was just somewhere I'd never been before. Somebody put on Patti Smith, Because the Night, and I just could not carry on talking to the person I was talking to. I just got up and started dancing. And if you knew me, you would know that that is so surprising. But I can see that I am just so much less reactive. I just feel more relaxed. And that's just gone. I'm just so happy to be in my life, and I just feel very grateful for everything that I have. So I got all my wishes, but in a totally different way to what I expected. And what was interesting during it, for me, someone who's very anxious and scared, is that I wasn't actually scared. I was very uncomfortable. I was in a place that I didn't want to be, but I wasn't scared.
This content is intended solely for informational and educational purposes. It does not in any way constitute an encouragement to use illegal substances, nor does it offer medical advice. If you are experiencing psychological or medical issues, please consult a qualified healthcare professional. Tangerine Retreat does not provide psychedelic therapy or treatment for mental health conditions. Some of the substances mentioned are legal in certain countries and illegal in others. It is the responsibility of each individual to comply with the laws of the country in which they are consumed, and to undertake any experience in a safe and appropriate setting.
So I'm now living here in Strasbourg, in France, but I'm actually from the UK. I grew up in London. My family background. So my parents were refugees from Nazi Germany, and I think that had a huge impact on me in my life. And so all my life I've been a bit of a seeker. So I'm just interested in what's going on for me, what's going on for other people from a psychological point of view, from a social point of view, and politically as well. I'm very interested in how we all interact with each other. I moved to Strasbourg about 35 years ago. I came for love. I stayed for work and for lots of other reasons, and I'm very happy here. And as I say, I've always been interested in sort of understanding more, not only my problems, but just who I am, really. And so I've done quite a bit of therapy, psychotherapy, psychoanalysis. And then in the recent years, I did a couple of years of EMDR, which is eye movement, deprogramming and reprogramming. And I found that really helpful and really interesting. And when I finished that, I just felt that I had become more myself, more of an adult. And I guess that left me open to exploring other ways of finding out my place in the world. Not very much. I mean, I used to sort of take a bit of dope when I was younger, but I always fell asleep, so it wasn't a big deal in my life. It was very funny on the retreat because I was actually the oldest person there, and quite a lot of the younger people seemed a bit surprised, maybe. And I just wanted to say to them, but, don't you realize I'm a baby boomer? We invented all this. And which I think we didn't invent it. Mushrooms and so on has been around a long, long time. But there is some truth in that. And I was living in London. I was a bit too young for sort of the swinging 60s. But certainly all that kind of just, seeking and finding out about yourself felt very relevant to my generation as we were growing, when we were younger. I have to say that I can't remember. I know, it hasn't been that long. I must have just read an article. It's something that is in the zeitgeist now. And so I must have just read an article in the paper or something and just thought, oh, that sounds interesting for me, because I don't know if it's trauma, depression, or just a certain sort of stuckness, but I think I just felt that maybe that could be something that could open things up for me. And I have to say, as I'm getting older, I'm looking for shortcuts as well. From what I read, I could see that there was a way in which the mushrooms could work on you, that it was going to get into places that it would maybe be much harder to get to in other ways. I'll also mention here maybe that I meditate. I've probably been, on and off, I've been meditating for a very long time, but in a sort of more serious way, I would say for 5 to 10 years. I have a regular meditation practice. And my meditation is just, it's something I love doing, but it's not always easy. And sometimes I hate it, but I could feel through my meditation, I could feel that there was something bigger out there in the universe. And that's certainly what drew me to the psychedelics, was that from what I read, you could connect to that universal wholeness in a way that I have kind of touched on slightly in meditation, but not necessarily. But I wanted to sort of get really into that and see what that really felt like, to be totally at one with the universe. To do a retreat, because I'm pretty nervous of drugs, and I certainly don't think, I feel that they need to be treated with a lot of respect. And I'm quite an anxious person. I'm just not an easygoing, laid back person that will just take mushrooms sometime and, with a mate and see what happens. That's not really how I wouldn't feel okay with that. How I got to Tangerine is that I asked artificial intelligence to recommend a few places, and they recommended, 5 or 6. And certainly, what attracted me to Tangerine was that you're kind of immediately led to thinking about why you turn up on that website. Giving reasons why, what aspect you're interested in taking mushrooms, and also meeting up for half an hour to discuss it with somebody. That made a huge difference for me. I met with David, and it just felt like exactly the kind of conversation that I needed. What to expect, what to talk about, some of my concerns, and so that's how I landed up at Tangerine. And I did it I chose the date because it was my 69th birthday. And it just felt very symbolic. 69's a big deal because the next one's 70. So I'm in my 70th decade now. And I just thought, this is, serendipity, and I'm going to give it a try. So first of all, I read Michael Pollard's book, How to Change Your Mind, or something like that. And that was really important as well. just to read somebody else's experience and a lot of the science behind it, and the history of mushrooms, psychedelics. So, I mean, I guess my preparation is the meditation, really. With Tangerine, it was very good. I think we met up, was it a week before the retreat? And that's when we were asked to cut down or stop wine and red meat and that kind of thing, which I managed more or less. And also, I mean, I was really lucky because I took the time to come to Amsterdam. I had a day in Amsterdam before coming to the retreat and a day after. And actually, when I look back to that whole experience, which for me was very, very positive, that part of it is included. I spent a morning at the seaside, and after the retreat, I went to the Rijksmuseum. And just, having spent all that time a little bit withdrawn from society, looking into myself, looking at things differently, and then to see these amazing works of art, it was just wonderful. So I was just lucky that I had the time to make it a whole journey. I think I was just very lucky because 4 of us decided to take a taxi from Amsterdam together. And so we had like an hour or so to get to know each other, to talk about different experiences. And that just helped build confidence, because of course it's always nerve-wracking to go to any event on your own and meet new people and so on. And maybe particularly something like a mushroom retreat where you feel you're going to be vulnerable. So it was really nice that I met some people in a small group in advance. And then, I mean, the whole experience was just great. The food was good. Our support team, we had 3 people all the time and a 4th person during the actual taking of the mushrooms. And the 3 of them were just fabulous and made us all feel very at ease. And I think we did meditation that evening. I, to be honest, it's funny because I don't actually remember very much about the day before. Once we arrived, I guess we must have done some meditation. Oh, and talking about expectations. That's right. And yeah, and it was just all fine. After the breath work, then we made our concoction of the truffles, and then we drank it, and then we laid down with our duvets and waited for things to happen. And actually, for me, I think, I mean, obviously it's my first time, so I don't know how quick it is for other people or normally, but it felt like it was very quick, that I was suddenly in a very different place. And that place was a difficult place. It was murky. It was churning. With distance, I wonder whether I didn't sort of go into my intestines a little bit. It felt a bit like that. It was certainly in my body. And I felt a little sick. And I said to myself, oh, okay, so this is what they mean by a bad trip. And I was sort of, I knew it would pass. So, I've been very seasick in my life. And I know that passes. There's nothing you can do. It just passes. And I also was a little bit sort of saying to myself, well, you know what? Maybe you just always want sort of nice experiences, more experiences, sort of consuming experiences. And maybe, the fact that this is feeling very difficult, maybe that in itself is meaningful. Anyway, I did ask Jacobian to hold my hand, because it was just somewhere I'd never been before. So yeah, it was just a strange experience. And I would say after a while, I can't say how long, we're just in a different time zone. It did It certainly, I was in a different place, which wasn't so scary. It wasn't how I'd expected it, because it was very much, I was having a conversation with myself. It was like talking to a very wise philosopher. But I didn't really need to say everything, and they didn't need to reply, because the replies were sort of, I was hoping, going on in my body. So yeah, but the whole time I was on the journey, I was all the time conscious of myself. I mean, what I mean by that is I didn't dissociate. I didn't go somewhere where my consciousness hardly existed anymore, which was fine. But it's just that I think what I'd come for was something slightly different. Yeah, I mean, when my first feeling at the end was that was interesting. I didn't feel any different. I mean, I don't think that maybe I did hope to be sort of transformed immediately. Anyway, I just found it interesting. I didn't think at that point that maybe I would do it again, not because of the difficulty, because I think by that time, by the end of it, the difficulty had just become somehow part of the whole journey. And what was interesting during it for me, someone who's very anxious and scared, is that I wasn't actually scared. I was very uncomfortable. I was in a place that I didn't want to be, but I wasn't scared. So yeah. And then we, the next day, I think the next day only, we talked about our reintegration. I have to say, it's nearly a month ago. I'd find it hard now to say what came first, but I think I can go through my list of hopes and maybe talk about what has changed for me. If that's, well, I'll do it as I come to this. So on the spiritual side, I think what happened to me was that I'd come along wanting to come into the universal through the light, through, being connected with the cosmos and so on. But actually what I had done was entered it through the shadow side, the difficult side, the dark side. And some of the things I experienced during the journey about suffering, about the way in which we all suffer. I sort of had a kind of experience about at one point, because of something that was going on in the room, I was very conscious of someone who was near me, who was in fact German, who was having a hard time, or just not, I can't say having a hard time, I don't know, but in his trip in a sort of mournful place. And I can remember thinking, this is sort of German pain. Now, I'm not talking about this person at all. I'm talking about my symbolism that I create. And then I've got my German Jewish pain. And then we've all got the pain today. For example, Palestinian pain. And I think that the spiritual side did work actually for me, because I somehow connected with that universal pain. And if you can connect with the universal pain, you can connect with the universal existence or being. So I got my first wish, if you like. The creative one, being more creative, has come really late, in the sense of a month later now. I was at some friends the other day, and we were just on a Friday night, some of us get together, and we were just chatting, and somebody put on Patti Smith, Because the Night. And I just could not carry on talking to the person I was talking to. I just got up and started dancing. And if you knew me, you would know that that is so surprising. I mean, I'm just not someone who just gets up and goes dancing. And then on Sunday, in my quartier where I live, we had our Christmas party outside, and they started singing Christmas carols. And I suddenly started singing Christmas carols, and I was just so happy singing these Christmas carols. And so I feel like that's actually very creative in its own way. It's an expression of something. And again, I do not sing. I'm not. So that's changed. On the patience and the listening and the less judgmental, that's changed. I mean, I don't know if my partner would say, yes, that's changed. I think he would. But I can see that I am just so much less reactive. I just like, oh, here we are, this is it. Yes, maybe you forgot your telephone or whatever it was. Well, so what, And so that feels, I'm just less reactive. I just feel more relaxed. And the other thing I want to mention, which I didn't, to go back to the trip, at one point I was finding it strange to breathe. It's not that I found it difficult to breathe, it's that I found it strange. And I remember I said to Morad, I said to him, look, I know this is a strange question, but if I stop breathing consciously, will I stop breathing? And I think he said, oh, don't worry. I mean, no, I don't know what he said. He just said, stay curious. I don't know. But whatever he said, it reassured me. And anyway, I knew perfectly well that I wouldn't stop breathing. It was like I had the two things going on in me at exactly the same time. And now what I notice is that my breathing is so much more relaxed and better than it ever was before. And that changes everything. That changes the time thing. My wish for time to be flowing and not sectioned. I think it's the breathing that does it. And I think somehow, plus I now always do every morning the breathing exercises that you Tangerine Retreat sent us. And I'm sure that helps maintain it. But yeah, so I got all my wishes, but in a totally different way to what I expected. I'm not sure that I would have any advice, but what comes to mind is that if you have already done some work on knowing yourself and on knowing what you find difficult, I think that would help a lot, because for me, at least, that's what happened, I think, during the journey, was that I went somewhere which was a difficult place. But because I kind of knew that immediately, I'm not sure now what I knew immediately, but because, as I say, I wasn't scared. I was just uncomfortable. Yeah. And I would certainly say to them to talk to you all, because, I think certainly David was very helpful to me right at the beginning when I was thinking about it. I would do another one, because so much that happened was so unexpected. And there's just things that I'm really enjoying about myself, as I mentioned, sometimes I've been quite a sort of envious person of, this person has that and I don't have this and whatever. And that's just gone. I'm just so happy to be in my life, and I just feel very grateful for everything that I have. And so, maybe there's even more to be discovered. I mean, I feel sort of like, as I say, very grateful. And for right now, 1 month later, it's all very new and very kind of enjoyable for me. But I can imagine in 6 months, I'll think, oh, wow, you never know what you could learn more. The breathing, as I say, just feels more fluid, more flowing at all times. And now when I'm driving, whatever I might be doing, if I forget to breathe, which I quite often do, I just go into that sort of flow breath work, and it just unblocks it. And yes, my meditation is calmer. I'm not sure it's deeper, but it's calmer. And that's already enormous. Yeah.